Rain poured down heavily on the Texas World Speedway endurance race in 1986, but the red flag was nowhere to be seen. The racers held back as rainwater covered the track, but one rider was nowhere close to holding back: Kevin Schwantz. With his face shield open and one hand to steer at almost 100 miles per hour, he waved his shoulder to the other riders, placed his feet on the handlebars, and amazingly aquaplaned across the heavily drenched track. Kevin Schwantz was filled with nothing but will and sheer determination. Kevin Schwantz inspired a generation of kids in love with bikes, including Rossi, who would rather pop wheelies, scrape their knees, and do all it took before they even thought about hitting the brakes. Kevin may have had the coolest looking bike with the coolest paint job and could be spotted by anyone just by watching his crazy riding style. But what the world really noticed him for was his warrior-like riding style. And boy did he impress. Let's take a look at Kevin Schwantz's career and what made him stand out and become so popular as a racer. As he grew up, his parents started a motorcycle dealership, so Kevin was able to get his hands on a Bonanza mini bike when he was just 3. He began taking part in trials and made it to motocross when he was a teen, before eventually got a place in road racing. From the start, Kevin showed a unique set of riding skills. By 1984, Kevin had figured out his riding style, and that's when he caught the attention of John Urich, a journalist who made plans for him to test for a place on the Yoshimura Suzuki Superbike team at Willow Springs. Kevin almost broke the track record, landing him an instant spot at the team. Kevin's initial race with the team was successful when he took the Willow Springs AMA Superbike Championship in 1985. He finished in 7th place overall in the championship standings, even though he'd taken part in only half of the races. In the Daytona 200 in 1986, he finished runner-up behind Eddie Lawson while riding a new Suzuki machine, the GSX R750. After that, he experienced his first injury, which would turn out to be a common injury throughout his career. He crashed, broke his collarbone during a qualifying race, and had to sit out a couple of races. He ended his championship season that year in 7th place yet again. The tension was high in the season of 1987, as Wayne Rainey and Kevin battled to be on top, one of the competitions that will never be forgotten in the history of AMA Superbikes. Because of the tension that it caused, from the United States to England, they both gave some of the best performances in every race, with the audience kept on the edge of their seats each time they came in close contact with each other. The riding styles were constantly opposing. Wayne was perfect and precise, while Kevin was fast and loose. There was a genuine dislike between them, as even Kevin talked about it during one of his interviews. Wayne grabbed the championship while Kevin finished the season with 5 race victories in the final 6 races, a notable performance whatever way you look at it. Kevin became a full-time rider when Suzuki bought their RGV 500 into Grand Prix racing, and the battle continued between himself and Rainey. The new bike was not as fast as the other bikes on the straight, leaving Kevin to create time by braking very late into corners, a braking style that would later be dubbed "See God, then brake," a strategy he used that won him lots of races. The rivalry continued in the Transatlantic Trophy match in 1987, but this time as teammates as they fought the British riders for the trophy. Kevin started 1988 with a victory at the Daytona 200K, the only win that he would have at the event. After the race, he left for Europe after a promotion by Suzuki to join the Grand Prix team in the 500cc category, where he won the Japanese Grand Prix in 1988 at Suzuka, Japan, during an opening round. He started the 1989 season by winning again in Japan, but mechanical failures and falls took him out of contention of the championship. He finished the season with 6 victories, more than all the other riders, but even with all his race wins, it could only land him in 4th place in the points. Suzuki and Kevin's DNF rate reduced in 1990, and he was still able to keep up with his great speed. But still, it wasn't enough to take down Rainey from winning his first world championship. The numbers said it all. Rainey had 1 DNF, winning 7 races, while Kevin fell off 4 times with only 5 wins. Mick Doohan joined the rivalry of Rainey and Schwantz for the title in 1991, but Schwantz struggled to keep up with his rivals. Rainey took the lead with 5 victories, while the consistency that Doohan maintained throughout put him ahead of Kevin in the final standings, even though they both had 3 victories. Kevin's performance was negatively affected by injuries in 1992, leaving him in 4th place with only 1 win, but he regained his speed in 1993. Kevin and Rainey kept battling in the 1993 season until Misano, Italy, in 1993, where disaster struck Wayne Rainey. He suffered a serious accident that severed his spine and ended his career. Kevin had gained enough points during the season to claim his first World Championship win, but Wayne's accident greatly affected him. At that time, Kevin realized that no one is bulletproof, and after a series of accidents that followed him in the coming season of 1994, his title for the year was ruled out. By the time the 1995 season came around, he hadn't got the easiest of starts to the season, and surprisingly, he decided just 18 months after the accident that ended his great rival's career to call it quits at just 30 years of age. By the time Kevin retired in 1995, he had 25 Grand Prix wins, which was one more than his great rival Wayne Rainey, making him the second most successful road racer from America after Eddie Lawson. His racing number was 34, and after his retirement, it was retired by the FIM as a show of respect for his popularity. After he retired from motorcycle racing, Kevin was in a few seasons of the NASCAR Championship in Australia in the late 1990s, before he came back to his home in the United States to finish the NASCAR Busch Series. He ran 18 races and was in the top 10 twice. In 1999, Kevin made his way to the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame, and in the year that followed, 2000, he was named a Grand Prix legend by the FIM. Kevin wanted to give something back, and together with Tavo Helmond, a German architect, and Hermann Tilke, a circuit designer, designed the Circuit of the Americas racetrack. Fast forward till today, and asked about Suzuki's departure from MotoGP, here's what Kevin had to say. It was hot news when Suzuki announced that it would depart from MotoGP, but Kevin was not surprised by the decision. He commented on his stand, saying that the manufacturer had been facing many problems, especially when trying to sell its products to the people and innovating in sport. Suzuki has been going through a lot in the previous years and had tried as much as they could to come up with new products in the racing aspect, and leaving MotoGP was not an unexpected move, said Kevin. A new MotoGP era, and why Kevin loves it so much. Kevin's time in motorcycle racing was before the 2000s, and from what he's seen today, he has noticed that things have really changed. He was a full-time championship rider from 1988 before retiring in 1995, a heyday for the 500cc category, as most people would consider it. Kevin was with Suzuki during his whole time in the Premier class and claimed the 1993 title, which was the first victory Suzuki had achieved since 1982, when Franco Uncini claimed the title. Honda and Yamaha largely dominated this era, and he believes that the present MotoGP is more enjoyable for the fans because of its competitiveness. In 2017, Yamaha, Ducati and Honda teams and satellite riders from the three manufacturers were very competitive. Johann Zarco and Jonas Folger from Yamaha, Cal Crutchlow from LCR Honda, and Danilo Petrucci all took podiums at the end of the 2017 season, with Zarco taking the pole position. Even Andrea Iannone from Suzuki and Aleix Espargaro from Aprilia had demonstrated occasional competitiveness. From Kevin's point of view, the fact that no rider was predictable was because they had the right equipment to compete to their best level to make it to the front, and that was what made the present-day MotoGP very entertaining. Everybody was making their run to the lead during the season, and that was very good in his eyes, and the races were very exciting to watch. So according to Kevin Schwantz, it is more exciting to watch a race where all the racers from different manufacturers are battling fiercely, with none always dominating the competition. So, what about his style at mastering the tracks? Kevin's warrior-like riding style caught the eyes of many, but just how did he master the track? While most riders always focused on going as fast as possible, Kevin focused on the rhythm he needed first. He started off smoothly, and then once he found that sweet spot, he'd only then speed up after, because this he found was much easier. He found it to be very hard to go fast without first going smoothly. It was all a matter of building it and learning how to shape corners and do what needed to be done to feel what the bike was capable of on that particular day. What is interesting is that Kevin learned this a little bit in 1992, during the times when his bike was really difficult to ride nearing the end of his career.